Henceforth.
No, people have to come back. I have divided the groups to their class now. They have to come back for the last project now. No, I've divided the class accordingly with the groups. So I'm saying everybody has to come back for that, at least for that project. He's saying that a lot of people are not here or dropping off or something. So I'm saying, no, I already have the groups defined, so people have to come back for that. What was that? Start with the group? Why? Oh, let me consult. Let's see. Well, you are in luck. You can take the class until the end. You're not withdrawing. Did you guys do the homework on Saturday? Did you guys go over the homework on Saturday?
Yeah, it's just a SQLizer hamburger project.
Oh, okay, yeah. You guys know that's due next Saturday?
Saturday? Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Let me confirm from boot camp. But what Yeah. So I saw on boot camp it says Saturday. Can you confirm that? Yeah. It's on next Saturday. So the homework that was covered on last Saturday is due next Saturday. That's according to boot camp. Just confirm it and let me know also. But I'm pretty sure that's what it said. And yes, what was it? Oh, this one. Yeah. Yeah. So we are off on Monday and Tuesday. So there's no class on Tuesday.
Oh, no class on Tuesday.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with ourselves?
No, but there's a class on Saturday. So this Saturday. All right, so this is done. We'll talk about this. Okay.
I forgot what it was too, but he was like, I was like, no, it was like a table flip moment, and so he posted this, but I love your interpretation, it's horrible. I was hoping this isn't a reference to your baby.
Destroy. I like destroy because it's not really just destroy. So it's like.
All right, let's go ahead and get started for today. So today's today would be the last class until the project, and after today, when we start week 16 and 17 is going to be completely project. More details to come after this. So in today's class, we are going to cover the CRUD operations with SQLize one more time, and then we are going to look at joins. How do we do joins in SQLize? All right. I was going to talk about homework, but looks like you guys already covered that on Saturday. The last portion is project. I'm not going to go into deep into the project. I'm just going to announce the groups that I have, and that's about it. On Saturday, we're going to deep dive, look into the project, what needs to be done, and all that stuff. Okay? All right, so we'll start with our SQLize that we saw on Tuesday. All right? So going back, the CRUD operations, CRUD, everybody remembers that? Who said whom? You? Eric? Eric?
What was that?
Did you say whom? Just,
No, I,
well, you didn't. Never mind. Go ahead and tell me what CRUD operations are.
hold on. No, I'm gonna have to.
CRUD.
Yeah. It's not gonna-
Create, read, update, delete. Awesome. Okay.
Well, destroy.
All right. So what does that? Okay. Now, Eric, what does this translate to the SQLize ones?
Oh crap.
What does the create one translate to?
Get.
Create. The first one.
Is that get? No. I'm thinking of that chain.
Okay. Let's start with the first one then. Which ones do you remember? Anyone?
Well, get, post,
Mm-hmm.
delete, and
Put.
what?
Put.
Oh yeah.
Right. So those are the HTTP protocol, HTTP methods, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about the SQLize one? You know, we saw some of the functions.
Yeah, I struggled with them.
Anyone? Anyone? SQLize functions.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I was here last
Well, you were streaming, right?
Right.
Streaming counts as you were present.
No, I was.
One of them.
Would you, okay.
The SQLize, right? Remember we coded something in SQLize. So one of these, what does the SQLize one translates to? At least anyone. Create, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
Create.
Create. So create is the function, yes. Find. So create corresponds to the C operations. Create. The read operations are, I heard find, but that's not complete. What's the complete? Find all and find one. Find all and find one. Okay, so these two correspond to read. And this is create, of course. Eric, do you remember now? A little bit. So find all and find one in SQLize kind of translates to the read operations.
Right.
Right? Create corresponds to the create operation of the CRUD operations. What about the update? What do we have for update in
Update.
update? Yep. The last one, destroy. See how people got excited about this one? I mean, that's why they named it. Destroy is kind of, you know, has a more effect on it. Yeah. All right. So these are the 5 operations in a SQLize that kind of translate to the CRUD operations. So we have 2 functions for read, find all, and find one. Okay. George, what's the difference between, why do I have 2 over here for read? Find all and find one. What does find all return?
Find all will find every instance that matches
Mhm.
criteria you're putting in.
Okay.
Find one will only find the first instance of what you put in.
Yep. So find all will return basically what George said, multiple rows. All right. It's always going to be a list. It can be a array or anything, but to generalize, we will say find all should always return a list of objects, okay, from your database, of course, because this is SQLized. And find one should always return a single object or a single row, okay. All right. So again, find one should not return you a list of anything. All right. Since we are looking for only one, if you have a query which returns multiple rows, always use the find all one. Okay. Generally, we say find all. Kind of the query is select star from this table and returns everything, right? If there's a where clause and it's still returning multiple rows, use the find all one. Okay. Update is update, create, and destroy. Okay. Any questions before we proceed? What is that? Destroy child. Now I have to see this. What is it? All right. So now you guys won't forget the delete command.
It's definitely a delete function. Like, what baby?
Yeah. All right. So any questions before we proceed? So what we are going to do is we are going to look at these 4 operations again before we jump into the join. Okay. So let's go ahead and let me show you the final. Again, similar to Tuesday, what we are going to do is we are going to create an app, and it's going to be in 4 parts. So we'll start with the first one. Now, unlike Tuesday, I would highly recommend when you complete the 11th, when we go into the next exercise and next exercise, use the unsolved version that is in the next one. Okay. The only reason you can use the first one is if you are successfully able to solve this one and you are confident that you have everything that's going to work. Okay, because for the next exercise it has a solution. In the unsolved one, it has a solution for the previous one. So for example, if you are using the 13th, it already has a solution for 12 and 11 in its unsolved folder. So if you are not able to complete the previous one, I would recommend start with the new one, the next one, because it has a solution for the current activity. Okay. Again, if you want, if you are confident you have completed the first one, keep using the first one. It's okay. But you have to complete the previous one so that we can look at the next one. Okay. So what are we going to be looking at? Let me go ahead and run this solved one so that we can see what does the final app looks like. Okay, let me make sure I restarted my server. MySQL. Let's see. Okay, did that. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to run this so that you guys can see. Alright, so this is how this one looks like now. So we have a UI with posts and authors. Alright, so how this will work is you can create an author. Let's see. Oh. So the first thing you will have to do is you can create an author in this, and then you can create a post that goes with this author. And this will show you. Okay, and this is how the posts show up. All right. Same thing. You can create more posts, but the catch over here is it has to be associated with an author. Okay. Keep that in mind. You can add authors over here as many as you want, but at this point, none of the author is kind of tied to a post when I create an author. Okay. if I create a new one. So it says 0 because I have not created a post for this author, but the first one does have it. That's why it shows you the number of posts it has. Okay. For now, keep in mind a author can exist on its own without a post, but can the post exist without an author? No. Okay. Keep that in mind when we go into. We'll see that in later chapter. Okay. So we'll start with the basic operations from the first exercise. The first exercise is kind of similar to the one on Tuesday. In this one, the expectation is you guys are going to create all the 4 operations. Let's go and make sure our TAs are going to select you the exercise, or it's in GitLab also. Let me open the README so that we can see what it is saying. Okay, so in this exercise, you guys are going to create a database table. Use SQLize to create that. Well, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to create the. You don't have to create a database using SQLize. The query is already there, and the schema is there. Either you can copy paste this in your MySQL workbench, or right click and run it in Visual Studio if you have that plugin installed. Okay, look at the config folder, look at the config JSON file, look at the models and create the model post. Right now at this point you will only have one model. And what does the model represent in MySQL? A table. Okay, so basically once you are done, at the end of this exercise you will have a table in your database. Okay. Do read the end note. Since this final product has been divided into 4 pieces, it's not necessary that the first one, when you complete this, it's working. It might throw some exceptions, but go through the exception and make sure that at least your table and all this stuff is created. There might be some other exceptions. I can take a look at it and make sure. Because this unsolved already have, if you open these models, and it already has the UI stuff and everything built in. Well, not this one actually. It's probably in the next one. Okay, yeah, this one doesn't have UI. And again, like the previous one, you don't have to worry about HTML or JavaScript or anything. You just have to be concentrating on the back end this time. Right? It shouldn't take a lot of time. So let's take 10-15 minutes on this one. And then I'm going to code this out so that everybody can see how this goes. Okay. Do take a look at the documentation to see. I know it's kind of complicated, but do take a look, try to understand what the documentation is saying. What's the difference between these two? That's the more important questions. Okay.
Should that be enough?
kind of similar to what you guys saw on Saturday. At this point,
Yeah, it's kind of like a review.
Right.
Review.
so what about this exercise? Are you able to do this? Or are you doing-
I didn't remember.
All right, so how many were able to complete one, the first point? One, everybody? Eric, were you?
What?
Number one?
Yep.
Number two?
Yep.
Number three? Got there?
Yeah.
Okay. Four?
Sorry, guys.
Well, you got hung up in four, okay.
I mean, wait a minute. When we're modifying it.
Well, you just had to open the book.
Thank you.
That's probably the most difficult step.
I couldn't open it. I couldn't open it, Daniel. I'm sorry.
It's an access denied.
Access denied to my own little machine. You try sudo. Number five. How many were able to complete number five? Good, good, good. You guys five? Oh, nice. Starting five. Anthony?
Almost done.
What was that?
The one that makes it
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see the table?
URL to
Yeah, that's it. All right. So number six, run it and see.
Yeah, that's what I had.
There might be an error. There might not be. But let's go ahead. Let me see. So now I'm going to go over this, and then so that you guys are. Oh, Dylan is getting error. Okay. So let's go over this exercise, and you guys can see. And then however far you get, go ahead and we'll try to complete this. Okay. So let's see. What was the first thing? Open the folder, select out to you. I did that. And then do a npm install. Okay. So I don't have this installed since I don't have the node module folder. So let me go back. This is 11. Okay. Unsolved. So let's do a npm install. And why don't I have to install every individual once? Why does the npm install works? Because it's using the package.json file. Okay. So usually I'm just curious to see what all it is installing. So it looks like Express, MySQL 2, and SQLize. Okay, and whatever the newest version is, that's what is going to get installed. So this was step number 1. 2, create a MySQL database, name it Blogger. I already did that. What I did was just right clicked and ran this. So just to make sure, I'm going to open this and see. Yep, looks like it's already there. No tables, so that's good. config folder and update your config.js file. Let's see. Okay, so the only thing looks like I need to update is my password, and then the database name is already there, so you guys don't have to worry about that. That is done. 4, 5, and 6. So I have to mess around with the models folder now. Okay, so let's open this. Give it some space here. Sequelize, we have to create our models with 3 data types and then run it. Okay. So let's start with that. So we already have our function created for us. Sequelize data types are getting passed in. Let's go ahead and create. So the table now. So let post my, this is the name that I'm going to give to my table, sequelize, and then I have to use the define method to create the table. Okay, so I'm in my models folder now. In the post.js, I'm creating the table, or starting to. Okay, so the first parameter is going to be my table name, so I'm going to call it post, and the second is going to be my columns. Okay, which is a collection of an objects, and we are going to fill this in. All right, so first is going to be my table name, the second is going to be all my columns. All right, so let's start with the first one. The first one, it says, is going to be called title. Okay, and I'm going to be using this syntax. The reason I'm using this syntax is because we saw validations and a lot more stuff, right? So if it was just one line, just a definition of the column, you could have done without the object, but this time we'll start. It's a good practice to always start with this because you have a lot more stuff to add to it, and most of the time you will have a lot more stuff to add to it, right? If you don't, this means you are missing out the validations. At least I can point that out. Okay, so let's start with this. Right now we'll just go with the definition. So the data type is going to be the first one. It says it should be a string. Okay, all right, so this is going to be data types. Type data types. Okay, next one is going to be the column called body. So let's go ahead and create a column called body. All right, and let's see what's the data type for this one. Type, it says the data type should be text. Data types dot text. Okay, so one is a string, one is a text. Anybody know what's the difference? Why do I have one as a string and one is text? What's the difference between the two? What was that? Character limits. Yes. What's the limit on string? Or is it the limit on the text? Huh?
There's one on the string.
There's a limit on the string. Yep. Excellent. So that's the difference. The main difference is the limit of characters allowed. So string in Sequelize is equivalent of your varchar 255 in your MySQL. Okay, so string has a limit of only 255 characters in Sequelize. All right, text is an equivalent of string in like JavaScript or anything. It has virtually unlimited unless your memory runs out, but it doesn't have any limit. You can go beyond the 255 character limit. Okay, you can use text element. Yeah, you will learn that when your memory is going down, most of the reasons are because we're using things that we don't actually need. But yeah, you can virtually use text anywhere. So that's the difference between the between these two. All right. Is that two? I think there's one more. Let me see. Category. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the category. Okay, and this time the type is string. So this means it is limited to 255 characters. Okay. All right, let's see, is there anything else I need to do for this one? I created the data types and then I just have to run this. Okay, looks like if I run this, it is saying it should create a table. All right, I'm getting an error called excellent. I forgot to do a return type. Awesome. You had the same same error?
Yeah, that's the same error. That's all.
Return post. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's working. So looks like it's working. It's listening. You can verify. So did everybody get the post table creator? No, why does mine didn't show up? Okay. So here's my table post. Okay. All right, let me close this and see what else do we have. Okay, what questions do we have? Any questions at this point? Okay, let's do the optional one really quickly also. Let me see what it says. Okay, so the bonus one is flags to the title and body to prevent null values from being entered. So title and body. Okay, so go back to the validation document and we saw some of the properties, how to not allow nulls, and we found out after some struggle that it was allow null false. Do I have it in the right position? Yeah. So I don't want allow my title and my body to be null. So this is how you would define these two. Okay, so this is my one of the validations in my bonus, the first one. The second one says a validation to the title so that it must be between 1 and 160 characters. Okay. If you guys remember, it was a validate object, and then the property is, I'm looking at the documentation over here on the other screen. Of course, I don't remember. So it says validate, and the property is called len, which is short for len. And then an array of characters that you want to limit to. So it says between 1 and 160, and that's how you do it. Okay. All right, so now we are adding validations. Again, keep validations in mind in your project. That is absolutely necessary. We'll go over on Saturday more, but validation is a very important part of your next project. It's going to be a little more stricter than the first one now. Okay, so let's see, I added 1 and 60 validation of the body, at least 1 character long. So similar, same one, you can copy paste this, validate, and this time the length should be 1 characters at least. So there's no limit. And because of the text part, I don't have to worry about the limit. So that's why the minimum I just want is 1 character. Okay. Let's see what else do we have. Flag to give a default value of personal if there's no value. Okay. How do I give the default value? Anybody look that up? It's a property called default value. Default. Well, it is saying you have to give a value if nothing is supplied. So it says give a value of personal. So pass a string. give it a default value. So if you don't pass in category, it will automatically set that as personal. Okay. Let me make sure this is still running. Okay. All my table is there. Everything is good. All right. Any questions? This. Okay. All right. Let's do the next one. So this was setting it up, kind of a little bit, kind of getting easier. Was it okay? Right. Just yes.
I'm getting an error when trying to run it saying SQLite is not defined.
SQL. What line? Where?
On the very first line left post.
Okay. Is there's a typo or anything?
Doesn't look like it.
So it's saying line number 5, SQLite is not defined.
Yeah.
Did you do the npm install? Everything installed?
Yeah, just did it again.
Okay. Okay. Let's take a look. All right, let's go ahead and start on the second exercise. It's already on Slack. And this time you have to complete, if you were not able to complete the first one, I would recommend start with the fresh one because it already has the solution. And in this one, we are going to be concerned with API-routes file only. Okay, you have to complete all the routes. Let me make sure that's what it is saying. Yep. So complete the API routes file. And then we'll go through it. Let's see how many. Let's take like 20 minutes on this one. Okay. Yeah, because we're outside this function. It should be inside. Yep. After this, yeah. Because it's like, so you're exporting the whole thing, nothing should be outside. You should have the table created. Yes. Well, you're missing the type or types? Type? Okay, yeah. So it's missing that type. Property and then it's value. What is that? I would say go to project. Yeah, and you just have to do the first two every time. You just have to run this npm install and update your config.js. Your table is there, everything is there. Might be just easier.
Yeah.
Yes, if you open unsolved, it should already have. The only thing you have to do is run the npm install
Okay.
again, and then just update your config file with your password. That's the only
That's
two
about
things.
it.
Yeah, your table should be there. Everything should already be there. And the only file you have to work with is API routes. You don't have to do this. I think because you should have the table. You should create a table in the previous. There's the model. There's the table. You did it, right? Yep, it's the same table we are going to follow. We are the cycle. Post is of temperature. The group is flat. So I will give that config.
It's like you said,
Those two things, yeah.
yeah.
Just try to do the npm install and update it.
Is everybody on API routes file now? Okay. So quick thing. You see the first one? What does the first one return? Like how many does it return? One row or multiple? Multiple. So it returns a list. What about the second one? Second one should return one or multiple? Multiple. Okay. So in both cases, we only have one operation that returns multiple, which is find all. Okay. So anytime you're returning multiple, you have to use this. So you have to use the same function, but in a different way. Yeah, no.
That's why she was really there.
Yeah, I'm going from the old one like honestly, if that works, I'm abandoning this on the next shift. Maybe that's much better because then you like learn how to do A to D. It's not helping A is missing all the parts.
I don't know, I think like you're wasting more time.
It is taking more time.
Yeah.
Moderately.
That's good. That's fine.
You're using your.
You are getting stuff, and he's getting stuff.
Wait, I'm just confused.
What do you
I'm also trying to. Also talking
You know?
Yeah.
You realize what that means. To just names. To just names.
Oh, no.
Names and stuff. So confusing.
Oh.
Same structure. So when data system is the same as what we're doing. Yeah.
Second prints to the
Yeah, the one for the
have that. So I have the memories now.
And they send out a lot of really good
No, you can read that. You can read that.
Yeah, Medium is pretty good as far as like I said, any tech articles, they're pretty good. Everybody else just spams them.
Gotta be careful.
So
Are you doing the others first?
this stuff like that. Kind of like,
That's the place to
I kind of slowed down a bit, just because I had really time to do it outside of this class and work. So.
Yeah, so,
But yeah, I'll probably jump back on it.
Brendan's essentially
Because then I have to work. You know, and actually do some utility and stuff. So yeah, I'm working for that.
Right.
I'm doing it
format.
auto layout and man, that's like crazy. Somewhere in the background, but
Yeah, well, in
There will be
there is a lot more interaction.
Yeah.
I use it as a throwing your code here and there. At least until I mean, I know that companies like this, you know, like
You really want to do
whoever
it.
they probably use the really
Better.
Don't worry about it right now. Use it right away.
This is the one for both.
Yes. So you
That's the one for both.
background
one is my 33 so you have
That's to get around. So I'm gonna go back up here.
when you're doing it, it looks like the destroy
Yeah.
It's a little bit like this one. But
Well, it's
without
not
the
gonna-
Now look at this way. That's not simple as
seeing the type format, but it's that destroy.
have the layout from some video. That's not
You just change it
that's
out.
not like the background.
Change it.
Yeah,
From
I really
that's
Keep an eye.
It's probably all the
Yeah, I already
I think that's on there.
Yeah, that's what you know.
It's going through my Joe Dirt quotes in my head.
Yeah, I don't think I've used that at all. I'm keeping on. Even if I did, it was probably
My favorite is when he's
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So you're telling me? Yeah, those guys had to have a lot of fun making that movie, man. He goes on for what, like 2 minutes straight? I got to imagine he was just sitting there, just ad-libbing that entire scene too.
Well, look at the video section. Instead,
Oh, yeah. I had an elementary school teacher.
it's the same rule.
Nice. Was he a nice guy?
Said he was a really cool guy that's still really close friends.
That's awesome.
There's a time, I guess it's some Davis decided by living on their couch.
Really?
Took off.
Wow. They're like, David, it's time for that payback. I'm gonna need to stay in your mansion for a little bit.
Oh, you're on video.
They got,
You also me on
they got their last one. Yeah, been doing her husband on the
Oh, sweet. So I just saw something. The guy, the CEO for Cold Stone. What is he? Is he in politics now?
Yeah, he's a governor.
That's
Doug
right.
Ducey.
Yeah.
CEO of
It was like one of the only political ads that I heard something from.
Oh,
yeah, he was former CEO of Cold Stone.
What a transition, man. Come to ice cream mecca.
Well, you
And,
reach so top that you're like, hey, now I've like done everything.
Right.
What do I do next? Yes, politics is
let's
the-
go change the laws, baby. I'm gonna put this here for Carson. Just a little. He's gonna think it's here.
But they're changing it to
So even notices.
React. I was talking to JJ.
Oh, they are officially doing that.
Yeah, officially they're kind of extending the React
You
week.
can do Redux.
Yeah, Redux or something.
If you really want to piss Carson off, you just write Linux sucks.
Oh yeah.
Linux just seems like you're like trying to give yourself more work.
I don't care too much for Linux because Mac OS stems from Unix.
Yeah.
So does Linux.
Yeah.
Except Mac OS is like a much better operating system.
It's like a pleasant experience.
Oh yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it's all standardized. It's not as customized. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's to the point where you don't really need to customize it. Like,
I don't understand when people go like super overboard.
People get mad at iPhone because you can't like change the system font or whatever. Like, who cares? It works.
Yeah, I used to do that way, and I just don't care.
I used to jailbreak a lot. I'm like, I really need to make this different. So I'm like,
Nah, I tried it. That shit sucked.
if I had enough time in my day to care about that now, I probably would.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is see the whole sequences, smartphone, what you have to add to the backgrounds and stuff that I was used to change.
It's, you ever have a library program, this is on the board, so that was my first one to start hacking on.
You can just make little scroll bar different colors.
Mine is not.
It had an operating system.
Remember when BlackBerry came out with their touchscreen? The whole screen was like click.
It's also doing its job.
That was not the answer.
My buddy got that phone when we were in high school. Dude, that phone was such shit.
It's like it was hard to text on. Having that reaction.
Yeah, one like the clicking motion of it is like you really have to push it to get it to do anything. Very strange.
So how close are we? Did anybody complete all 4? Delete 5? How far did you guys get?
We're looking at it.
I like the topics. I think that's trying to figure out, especially with guys and stuff.
DB find all,
Right. Okay. What about the first one, the post? You got okay. Yeah, the second one is kind of a little bit newer. What about the create? Never mind the create. Huh? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to start coding. During this time, if you were not able to complete the first one, you can take a look at it. Otherwise, keep continuing until I reach the last one. If you guys are okay in completing that, and then we'll start the new exercise. Okay? Alright, let's start the first one. So API post. So this one, simple find all, and this will return me everything from my database. Alright? So similar to the to-do one that we did, it's going to be db dot post dot find all method. I'm going to close this. All right, db dot post. Do I have it right? Db my models dot post. Okay, this is the table I'm looking for. I'm going to get all the rows from this one. All right, so the next part was, if you guys remember, I was saying, memorize this syntax is always going to be your models dot one of these functions and then dot then. Okay, always start with this so that then you guys can fill everything inside it. All right, so let's start with the first one. Find all curly brackets. Do I need anything? I don't need any options over here, so this is good. And then I can move on to my then function. Okay, in my then function, I need to pass in an anonymous function, and this will return me, let's call data. Okay. Let me write this on a new line so that it's easier to see. Okay. So actually, let's do this so that you guys can see what all the functions I'm calling. So db model dot find all, and then find all, after find all it's then. So in this, I'm going to just return the JSON file with this data, and that should be it. Okay, so this was post, simple find all, no changes over here. All right, so the next one is kind of a little bit tricky. Again, it says that I need to get the category, and it's going to return me a list. Again, there's only one method that I can use that returns a list, that is find all. So I still have to use the same one, so I'm going to stub it out and then say, and then come back and see what changes do I need to make. Okay, so I have my find all dot then, this is stubbed out, and then I'm going to go and fill it out. Okay, so let's go and complete this, and then since then is going to remain the same, so I'm going to complete this. This is a little bit easier than the previous one, so I'm going to complete this and then come back and see what changes do I need to make. Okay, let's go ahead and format this. All right, so right now there's no difference between the first API and the second API. Find all, everything is the same. All right, so the change comes in, I need to, you see this parameter that is being passed in, so that's what will go in my where clause in my find all. Okay, so that's where these curly brackets and these options come in. So in the similar to create, it's going to be where property. Let's close this out. Okay, so this is what differentiates between the first call and the second one. And in this, I'm saying where category is equal to something. And again, if you look at the URL, it says colon category. This means I'm getting the value in my URL, which is going to be a parameter. All right, and the parameters are always on the request. So it's going to be request.params.category. All right, so this is how the find all is going to work. Again, if you have to get a list from your database, it's always going to be find all, but with a different, if you want, or for example over here, we want by category, so that's where the where clause or the where option comes in. Right, in the previous one, the options are empty because I don't care about any selection, I just get everything from my database table. The second one, I care about the category, that's why I'm putting in a where clause. The query becomes select star from table post where category is equal to whatever I'm passing in. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one, which is get. Now this is going to return me a single row, and how do I know? Because I have an ID, and in the database the ID is unique. So if I query by an ID, I should always get a single row. All right, so in this case I'm going to use my find one method, find one. Okay, complete this with dot then and then close it out. All right, so I'm going to put these in separate lines so that we can clearly see. Okay, the easiest one is again completing the then function. It's going to be the same, so let's go ahead and complete this. Res.json data. Okay, let's go ahead and now complete our find one. Okay, so in find one, similar to the find all the previous one, I need to put my where condition here. So find one always works with a where condition because you need only one row, so this is absolutely necessary. And then it's going to be ID, and from the look of the parameter is going to come in my request.params.id. Okay, do I have extra? Nope. It's like right. Okay, so that's how I do my find one. Right. So the next one is create. Since it's a post, I know it's going to be my create operation, so I'm going to use my create method that's in SQLize. All right, let's start with the same thing. Stub it out. Post dot create dot then. Okay. Let's complete the then part because it's the same function, data, and then return it. AP post. Okay. All right. Same thing. Just now I just stubbed the whole thing out. So we'll start with the create. These are complete. Similar to find all, find one, I need to pass in what am my values for the rows. So it's going to be title. I don't see anything in the URL, so it cannot be a request parameter. It's going to be my request body. Request.body.title, and my body would be request.body.body. Okay. Last one is the category. It's going to be request.category. Oops, request.body.category. And this should complete my post method. All right. So this is all similar to the previous exercise. Okay. Any questions so far? So we did the find all twice, then we did find one, and we did the create. Now we'll do the delete next, or destroy. All right, let's stub this out really quickly. db.post dot destroy. Okay, function close it dot then stub it out. All right, let me put this in the next line. Complete our anonymous function, still going to remain the same. Data, and I'm going to return the object that has been deleted or destroyed. Okay. And now every time next time I'm teaching this class, and I'll like start laughing and be like, "What's going on?" No, it's an inside joke. All right. Destroy. I see an ID being passed in. I need my where clause, same as previously, ID, and this time it's going to be in my parameter since it's in the URL dot ID, and that should be it. Okay. Destroy or delete is similar to the get one, the find one, or get with an ID. Okay, let's do the last one, which is update. So update looks like there's no ID, so it's coming in the body. So it's going to be similar to create. Let's stub it out really quickly. Post dot update dot function dot then. Okay. And then also I'll pass my function, anonymous function here, pass in the data, and then return this. Okay. So I need to add my where clause here. And my where clause, I'm going to update it using the ID. So ID is equal to request.body.id. Okay, and this should do it. This will update whatever is coming in. So basically, this is saying update everything that gets passed in the body with this ID and go ahead and update all the rows. SQL is kind of smart enough. It's going to update all the 3 columns. In the previous we did specified. You can go ahead and specify also. That's also fine. But if you don't, it's going to update all the 3 columns: title, body, and category. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this, and then we will move on to the next one. Okay. Looks good. Try it on localhost. I'm not sure if it's going to update anything or do anything because we did not make any connection. But this should be good if there's no error or anything. Yeah, you can run your APIs. Do a localhost ATAT/API/find all find one. Oh, sorry. If you run this URL in your browser, it should return you something if there is any database, or if there are any columns in it. If not, you can do a Postman and create it out, and that should also work. Okay. Let me close this out and see if there are any questions before. No. All right. Any questions on this? How we did this? Am I getting it?
So if you really want to, you quit this app and then you run it again, is it going to drop your database? Because if it drops it,
Yes.
I don't.
Yep. Good question. Let's see why it does it. So if we go into the question is, what is happening is every time you run it, you have some rows in your database. You stop your server and then rerun it. Kind of everything goes away, right? And why is this happening? It's happening because of this. So this flag that is being added, it is saying force true means go ahead every time you run this, delete my data, drop my database, and do it again. And guys, a word of caution: use force true only when you are doing your main development. If you push this to production, what's going to happen? Every time you deploy your app, is going to drop all your data and it's going to recreate your table. You don't want that. So this is only for development purposes. When you are satisfied with your schema and structure, remove this flag over here. Okay? This will not drop your table. The reason it is there right now, because you see we are making continuous changes. Our exercises are going from 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are kind of making changes to our data structure or our schema. So that's why we have it over here. But after the last exercise, when our tables are kind of frozen, everything is good, go ahead and remove this. It's not going to drop your table anymore. Okay, so force true, again, remember, is going to keep dropping your table every time you rerun this app. Okay? All right. Any other questions before we move on?
No.
No? What was that?
It's
not.
Well, some of it.
Well, okay. So what will happen is the first time you run, well, because it's already dropped, the next time it shouldn't do it.
No, it just doesn't do the category.
Oh, yeah. So because we haven't done the connection yet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At this point, if your code is compiling, as in it comes up without any error, it's kind of okay. Because we haven't done the relationship yet. That's why it's probably failing. Yeah. But what you can do is you can run this in your browser, like localhost/host. Huh? It shows all. Okay. Yeah. We'll fix the rest of the stuff. Which was? Yeah. Yep. We'll see. We'll do the next one, and then we'll see what happens. All right. Okay. So let's take a break and come back at 8, and then we'll continue. We'll look at something a little bit different. We'll try to connect all these tables together. All right.
In the examples that we did on the last class,
Mhm.
we had
Yep.
after the
Yes.
res.json, we had res.n.
Res dot what?
Res.n. Is that required? or
Res
is
dot
it-
n.
What is it?
Let's look it up and see what it is. I think it like ends your connection as soon as you are done with it and kind of end that connection, which it will do by default also. Yeah, because the next request doesn't know what the previous one was, so it's kind of forcing it to end.
Oh, I get it. But, oh. Hey, there we go. I know it's a little weird because it has the same thing twice. So, that's I just had it all up here.
I mean, only you can
Well, no, man, it's sort of so. I know I was repeating That's good. And it's
you see final score, then the whole thing should be same as the one that you
Yeah.
see the part then it shows see the so there's a postman with a sunset code, there's a create starting radio. This is always going to be the same. Find one. Oh, find all the oh, this
Oh, right there.
Start here. Start there. The stuff on
Right. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll find that's step one. There, where is it's not right after the where's after the I'm like where's the first after the but keep in mind where is that so it's not as fast as it
Oh, it's not.
no.
What is it?
Well, you know, also this is it's not completely different. This side, where we most
All the way at the end.
So this is
Should be here.
whatever is after the where is that?
Here.
Oh, fine one is going to be
So, oh, I got this. So this is there.
yeah. Now, do format. There is all, there's a lot of people, you know, you know, if you look at the color ones, whatever is getting back to it is now, like, you're at see how it's still
Yeah, it wasn't after another,
where's it supposed to be? It's supposed to be where I think we are getting
Yeah. Well, it should be. It's
So
not on.
when you are putting something
So it
out
should
there,
be.
there's always going to be
That one should be.
and you press it.
Right.
We get out there where we are sending this data back.
This one is using this and it should be.
And
That one should be closed, right?
and now
And then
the
this
data you're
one.
using, what do you?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Far left line, and then
Yeah, but
It is.
of course, we're all tired, so like I tried to, so I knew I wasn't gonna need that.
That was going away.
So I kind of used it, I think I didn't do that. And then like 7 times, just like I just, as hard as I could, I slapped that board so
So it's
hard.
going all the way up here.
Make sure you close.
That's what we heard.
Split that.
No, I just start the next one.
This is missing that. Am I right? Oh, no, wait a minute, that's on the other one.
What about that?
Yeah, you see there's a
It's always the same across the.
What is 13?
Excuse me.
People know they're working on Diablo 4. I don't know why they're so bad. It's like, maybe they just set it in the form, like, working on it, but what was the we'll just figure out later.
Yeah.
Look, there isn't a close. All there is. So on line 95 after. So those are set. They're not working on all that. But working on Diablo 4.
I got you.
So why is
No one likes the mobility.
yeah.
Oh.
No. It's going on. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this does it.
I'm on mobile.
No, I'm not.
Something, I just have to like text them when you're editing
something
a big
to
block.
distract me from
So that's why I started exactly the.
And this
With
is
putting writing settings.
Yeah, you got it back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you always.
I
Yeah,
have a couple of windows open, so it's not
yeah,
working.
yeah.
But
It's easy to
I have
do.
it open since before I installed
It's easy to
it.
do.
It's snowballs. Snowballs and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
line of the I just want one that.
You wonder why your computer doesn't.
No,
In case you want to watch record.
We're gonna find out.
It's going to the internet.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to see Valve.
Everything.
We would doing some like, some online.
There's something on the.
And there's
No.
see like smoke coming up over here. Next thing you know, I go over there trying to do whatever's happening.
That's not closed up.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that. So if it shoots you an error, there's an error. Well, there's an error instead. There's an error somewhere in here. Wouldn't try to make it bigger.
Let's see what this.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the next step. So the next is our joins. So we saw in MySQL the joins part is kind of complicated. SQLize kind of helps you to minimize some of those stuff, but still it can get a little messy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Reddit documentation and see what they have. So let's Google associations SQLize or SQLize associations. It's one of those. All right. So joins or relationships, you will hear different terms. You will hear relationships, associations, joins. All of those are kind of similar thing. In SQLize, they are called associations. So what association means is what is the relationship between two tables or two and more tables. That's what association means. All right. Now we've been looking at getting the data from one table till now. I'm not sure if you guys looked at this on Saturday or not. But now we are going to look at if you want to get data from multiple tables, more than one table. Okay. If there are two tables, we'll look at the example for two tables, and it kind of carries over to all of them. All right. So once there are more than one table, there has to be a relationship between them. You have to kind of make a relationship, and that's how SQL works. Right. You can have some independent tables, but that's a rare case. I've seen some of those, but usually what you do is you create multiple tables and then you create a relationship between them. All right. So in this case, we have two tables. One is called post and one is called authors. Okay, let's take a look at what the relationship between these two tables is. Okay. So what the description is that an author is going to have multiple posts. All right. So a post, there could be many posts that would belong to some authors. All right. So the first thing is this author table. All right. This authors table will have, let's suppose, first name, last name, and ID, whatever, something about the authors. All right. Now I started the question. I said, can this authors table exist on its own? Can this entity or can this authors exist on its own? You guys said yes, right? And that's the case. That I can have this table created with all the details about an author, and it'll be fine. I can query this table and kind of get the information. I'm trying to see what authors are there, or what author with this first name is there, and I can get all those stuff, right? Let's take a look at the post table now. Can a post table exist on its own? Is there a meaning for having a simple post out there or a post table on its own without any author? From our use case, it doesn't make sense. I mean, post cannot exist on its own. There's no reason. I mean, somebody has to write that post, right? It has to exist. So a post table cannot, for our use case, cannot exist on its own. I mean, there's no point on having that table, right? So this table is dependent on the authors table, right? It's very, very dependent on the authors table, right? Okay, so far so good. Another example would be team and players, all right? Players, right? So in this case, a player must be associated with a team, right? In our case, a team can exist on its own. There could be a team name, location, and ID and everything. A player can exist, but it has to be tied to a team, right? Alone without the team, a player is kind of, in our use case, won't make sense. If they go, you know, or it could be like a free agent, but it's still you have to associate. There could be a team called free agents, and the player still has to be associated with that. All right. So that's the second case. Now going back, in our case, an author can have multiple posts. Okay, an author can write more than one. All right. So what we say is one to many relationship. The one author can have multiple posts, but the same is not true. One post cannot belong to many authors. In our use case, it doesn't make sense, right? All right. So the relationship is always going to be that an author can have multiple posts, right? Now let's see how does this condition kind of translates into SQLize. So if you see on the screen, if you Google associations in SQLize, and that's how the SQLize does its joins, right? In our case, if we were writing the query, it would be join on post and author and do all that stuff. Now SQLize does it for you. The only things you have to know which relationship to call. Okay. All right. Let's look at the first one. The first one is belongs to. Okay. So this relationship is saying the syntax is model. Okay. Dot. It belongs to, and then another model. Okay. This is the syntax that you see over here. It says player dot belongs to team. So a model, whatever the model is, belongs to and model. I will see which one to put which one. Okay. All right. So if you're using belongs to, so it's kind of, so on your left side you put the model that is kind of very dependent on the other one. So over here, player we said cannot exist on its own, right? So that's what you put it on the left side. So you say player belongs to the team. Similarly, what's going to be for our condition over here? If you follow the same pattern there, a team can exist on its own, but the player cannot exist on its own. So we are saying a player that definitely belongs to a team. So
belongs to an author.
Posts belong to an author. Excellent. Yeah. So in our case, it's going to become posts dot belongs to an author. All right. You guys see it? So this is how we create a relationship in SQLize. So in our case, in the next exercise, when we are creating association, that's what we create. But this is not the end. A relationship goes both ways. So this is fine. You are saying a post belongs to an author, but you need to create a relationship from an author to post also. Okay. So to tie that relationship, we'll see how we do that. All right. So this is what belongs to does. Now the next one is has one. We are not going to use this, but but there's another association which says has one. Has one is very similar to this belongs to one. Okay, so both are kind of what they're saying is let's see. So we did the belongs to. Okay, so the has one also follows the same syntax. You have a model, and then again you have a model over here too. Okay, so in this one, as let's look at the example over here, what they have, and then so what they're calling is source and target model. So if you had to take a guess, which one is the source and which one is the target in this syntax? So you're saying this is the source and this should be the target. What does everybody else think? Is this right? What is that? Let's look at the documentation and confirm that then. Right? What does the, let's see, where is... Yeah, you can't get wrong. Right? Well, it's either this way or the other way. So you said, so I think it's the other way, that this is the source and this is the target. The other one is the target, that you're starting from here. What is it?
You say target key, or is that a different attribute?
No, it should be the target key means the model, the target model over here, the key of that. So what this is saying is how are these tied together now? If you are using any one of them, how are these actually? You are saying this belongs to this or has one. What are they? What is the relationship that exists between both of them? Like now, let's go into MySQL. Which column do you think is creating this relationship? So now I have my post. Did I hear ID? Somebody say ID. Yep. So what are my columns over here? I have a ID over here and I have an ID over here. Okay. Now I wrote the code and says post belongs to this, and I don't have to worry about it. But we need to understand how is the relationship being created in MySQL. So both of these have IDs. ID 1, 2, 3. Now I want to make sure, how do I tell in this table that this post belongs to this author?
You're going to match the IDs.
I match the IDs. Excellent. So the IDs that are over here has to be exactly the same. Right? Let's suppose I have ID 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now can I have an ID of 1 over here? Nope, it doesn't make sense. Like there's no author with an ID of 1, so it doesn't make sense to have an ID over here. So what we are doing is it has to be the same ID that exists over here. Okay, this is how we are creating a relationship. Now if somebody asks me, oh, I want to get this post, which author does it belong to? So I take this ID and I say, oh, let me go and look up this ID over here. Oh, this is the author that this post belongs to. Okay. ID 6, I pick it up and I say, oh, this is the author that this belongs to. Okay. If I want to go this way, I say ID 5, let me go and see the post with this ID, and then I can pull all those. Right? Now can I have this? In this post table? Yep, exactly. That's how because I'm saying that there can be multiple posts from the same author. So I'm saying that ID 5, the author which this ID has all these posts. So I can totally have this. But then it doesn't become unique. What do I do for that? There's probably another auto-generated ID over here. That's what's going on. So this table has its own IDs, but then it has a different IDs, these IDs, and these are called foreign key. You will call these foreign key IDs. And the reason they are called foreign because they are foreign to this table. They don't really belong to this table. They're coming from this table. All right? That's why these are called foreign keys. So behind the scenes, SQLite is creating these foreign key relationships, and that's why you have those belongs to and has one relationship. All right, let's see, there was one more thing before. Okay. Okay, so far so good, kind of concept-wise, seeing how the relationships are working. Okay, the last one is called has made. Now I said we completed the post to author. We said post belongs to an author, but we have to go the other way also. All right, now what was the other way? It just in plain English, what would you say? Author has post. That is exactly. Author has post, or you can say author has many posts, right? And what do you think the function is called in SQLize? Has many, that's what it is. So how would I write this out now? If I had to code this out. So for example, I said hosts dot belongs to authors. How do I write this has many now? Following the same pattern. Yep. Authors dot has many posts. Yep, that's it. Let's see, did I write the right syntax? Has many nodes. Okay, yeah. This will create a basic relation. Now there are multiple options. Like we saw validations, right, inside our tables. So these also have some options, and we can look at it later on. But this, if you just write this code, it will complete the relationship. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. So the next exercise is using the exact same code. Go ahead and give it a try and see how you can write this code, and then we'll go ahead and solve it together later on. Okay. So take a look at the next exercise. It's going to be very similar. So I have explained to you the relationships, the concept, and how to write this code. There is one more piece of code involved, and that basically says, oh, I'm trying to create a association or relationship. Take a look at it, see if you can figure that part out. But the more important is this. That's just one line, and I'll show you later on. But see if you can figure that out in the next exercise. Otherwise, has many belongs to. All right. Let's go ahead and take a few minutes and take a look how you can code this. Right. Getting there to write those lines would be probably the difficult part. I mean, in the end, it's just like literally like 2 lines that you have to write and it will work. But figuring out what the 2 lines are and where they go is the more difficult part. Right.
So when you do multiple tables, do you use multiple modular exports or just one?
Use multiple modular exports. Like every table, create a single JS file for every single table that you use. So right now we have 2, so you see 2 JS files. Similarly, if there are 3, create a third one.
So how do you know which one? Where do you create the relation of which one?
Which one?
Because it's the priority.
Which one?
Like on the author, we create the relationship.
Okay.
Because it's the primary.
So what did we discuss? We discussed that there's a relationship from post to author, belongs to, and there's a relationship from author to post also. So to answer both files. Different relationship, but in both files. Once this is done, I don't think this code will still run because we are missing one more part, but let's complete this association and then we'll move on to the next one.
An example that you give us, it says use strict. Remember what that is?
Which file are you looking at?
The link you gave us on GitHub.
The link that I gave you? This one? Oh, don't worry about the strict. I'll tell you what strict is. It's but you don't have to worry about strict right now. Yeah, you can skip it. The more important is the association. Oh, well, the answer is already there in the link. Okay.
So, let's see.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Again, I got to this is I just did associations, sequelize.
So,
Nick, this is the association one, not the joints. So joints one is the last one. There is a all course, also I think it's yeah, but I didn't do the
Well, even if you don't, just try to.
well,
So models is fine. You will use models.
right.
You will change the concept. Use it. So you like to when you change, you remove the model. No, over here. You have models or
Yeah.
you use models or so what are the tables that we have on this?
Oh, I got you.
Host and authors, right?
Right.
Ask an example. Our table are host and authors. So those are our only two
That's our
choices.
only two choices.
Host and authors. No, associates is not a table. We have only two
No,
tables.
it's
Host and
right.
associates is the association between the associates. So you're close. Model.
Yeah.
What? Let's see the request to the table.
Always. So this. This should be.
So yeah, look at this diagram that I have on the top. Look at the arrows.
Yep. We're going to change that red. So we're going to change that red.
Oh.
Yeah. Like right here, it's what you're talking about, right? Right there.
So you have there's one more. Yeah, this is. You still have class.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is.
What is going to be? What are you going to do?
Should be. Well, the other one's close. No, this is on or on.
Exactly which file?
I was at post.
Well, here's the post right here.
On Windows, you
So,
can actually make it.
Then you come here and do the same there, because you're associating the author, the model as authors. So here, then you'd have to do that.
Yeah.
You'd have to do the.
Well, but you already have this. You see this module that is
Uh-huh.
so you already have it.
Oh, gotcha.
So you can move the association inside that.
Oh, I gotcha. So, okay. So I don't actually need this. I don't need that. Yeah. So then this would be internal, because that's internal. And then this should be. I don't need it. Yeah, I already have it.
Oh. This one will go inside your.
It's yeah. Well, let's see. We have to be inside of this whole thing here, right? So it would be like right there. I'm thinking. Yeah. And so I would snag.
Does it throw an error when you run? Try running it in the local OC if it still comes back, because we are still missing one more activity to run. Look at the. This is author is fine, but that's also also the ones. This is actually this is also so yeah. Authors also has a relationship. I see. Post belongs to
I deleted the parts I
authors.
didn't need.
Post should also be there.
Yeah, because there's duplication. It's like when you look at this.
Test it out.
You didn't
Look
need.
at your database paper.
You didn't need. Yeah. Yeah. So.
So I'll explain it. Cascade means cascade, right? Like, so cascading, right? Sure. Right. So what it says is cascade on when you delete the question I'm trying to figure out when you delete the post, then you make no, when you delete the transfer, then you delete all the posts that there's that thing. It should be not. I'm just trying to find it in the documentation to see if it goes in the part and it's in the document and the cascade and everything. Nothing will happen. It won't delete, go and delete the author. But the relationship is the author is delete the author, then go and see what are the files. No, you don't need that. They have a different policy.
Oh, I got you. Yes. So the power got it. Power is that.
I mean, I just copied the example from
That's right.
they provided.
So you need to
What were you saying?
yes.
That's what I thought it was. And it's when they showed how like that makes sense. Everybody. So all I gotta do is figure out where
It's one of those ones where they're wanting to out.
Yeah.
His head never made any contact.
Oh, the models.
This one belongs to.
Yep.
What was it? Yeah, I think that I didn't put models in the function. Silly goose. I don't know who wrote that, but I wrote it was technically SQL is not a database. SQL is language. SQL server. MongoDB is also a database system rather. Oh, SQL. SQL. Get it right, get it tight.
Yeah, this was your comment on my last time about the difference between SQL Server and MySQL, and I was doing that when I was adapting my SQL over there. So I did a lot of times.
Yeah, careful with that. The similarities are there, but syntax is quite a bit different.
Yeah.
SQL, like using SQL Server to MySQL, syntax is a little bit different.
Yeah, for that. I was getting errors when I tried to do it on this computer again, so I installed Workbench and had to all find it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Good deal.
Hard way.
Good deal.
So often you run into that where it's a small syntax thing difference between different languages.
How often? Pretty much all the time. Because I mean, my main focus is C#, but then I come here, and everything's like JavaScript. So I have to like switch back and forth, and so sometimes when I code or write JavaScript code, I forget some of the functions, but the functions are called something like a little bit different, like they work differently, they're named differently, so I can forget going like back and forth all the time. So such is the life. It's like knowing like multiple languages in real life, and like only speaking English for like 2 years, and then having to go back to like speaking French. You haven't spoken French in like 2 years.
All the way back.
A little bit of
But C# doesn't even have the keyword function, right? It's just like
no function.
void and write the
Actually,
name and does it.
It does have function, but it's and it runs like an actual function, but it's a little bit different. So
Yeah.
like the equivalent of function in JavaScript or C# would just be like a normal method.
Right? Yeah, void, blah blah, and
In
then
C#, so they do actually have a function, which is I think is the first parameter is your input, and then the second parameter is the actual output.
oh, interesting.
So it works a little bit differently. It's essentially a method, but it's
Yeah, a little bit different. All right, let's take a look at this. So from the README, I need to only update these two models. All right, how do I create the association? Let's start with the post first. All right, the easiest, the first thing that I would do is create the association. So it's going to be post my table or my model that I'm using, and then dot associate. Okay, now associate is a function, so create a function, remove this, and that's it. All right, so this is the first thing that you guys are going to do every time you're creating association. It doesn't matter. Now go to authors. I will do the exact same thing. If you are in authors, before the return, do author, is it author? Yeah, author dot associate function. Okay, this is a start of the association between whatever you guys are creating. Okay, so start with that, and that's over. Now comes this part. All right, so in post we figured it out that it's going to be, we're going to use the belongs to, so it's going to be post dot belongs to. Okay, now this is how it's defined as source model, and the next one is called the target model. Okay, so my source model over here is post, and my target model is going to be authors. I forgot this parameter that we need to pass in. Okay, so the stub code or the skeleton, when you start with creating the association, this is how it's going to look like. So model name dot associate is equal to function, and then you pass in models, and we'll see what models has. Okay, so always start with this, and then your models will have your model name, which is going to be author. This. Okay, source, post, belongs to, and then the target model, and that's it. There are some more options, but I won't go through it right now, but simple, this is how you create the association. Alright, so now we have this association created. Let's go to authors and create the second association, which is going to be has many. So I already have this. All I have to do is I will say author, my source model dot has many function, close it out. My target model would be models dot post. Okay, and this is how you create the relationship. That's it. Source model and the target model. All right. Again, the skeleton code, always remember model.associate, and the model that you are currently in, I'm an author, so that's how it starts with. Associate, create a function, pass in models, parameters, and this is how SQLize will go ahead and start creating your relationships. Okay. There's an optional parameter. It has some options, so this is how you put in some options if you want to put some options. So I'm going to show you one option that's kind of important. This option is called on delete cascade. Okay, let's go back here, look at the try to find this documentation. Let's say where it's going to be in your let's see, reference, and then look at this. I'm looking at has many. All right, so let's go into has many. Okay, so these are all the options that are available in your has menu. Okay, so the option that I'm looking at is called on delete. So when you are doing on delete has two options, set null or cascade. Okay, and I'm going to set it to cascade. What it means over here is anytime author is deleted, go ahead and cascade that effect. What cascading means is go ahead and delete everything from post table also that is associated with this author. Okay, one more time. On delete, cascade. Cascade is like a domino effect. Okay, so what it is saying is when an author, when this source model, any row in the source model gets deleted, go ahead and look for all the association in the post table and delete all of those also. Okay, so my author, this author 5 has 3 posts. If I delete this author, because of this relationship, it's going to go ahead and delete all posts also. Because in our use case, a post cannot exist without an author. All right, and that's, you call this effect cascading, and this is how you do it. Okay, you don't have to write any delete query. You do this option, and SQLize will take care of it. All right, and you want to do this anytime you have this kind of relationship, because you don't want what we call is orphan rows. You don't want any orphan rows lying in your table because you deleted the parent. Now these are like orphan rows over here. Okay, so cascade delete will take care of that. Right, again, it's kind of, you won't put cascade delete in your post because you don't want it otherwise. You don't want, if you delete a post, you don't want the author to be deleted, right? That doesn't make sense. So that's why you don't put it on the post, you put it on the author. Okay, so this is how you create the association. And now to wrap it up, we have the last exercise, and this is going to be on joins. Let's take a look at this one, and then we can run our complete exercise. So this is take a look at it and see how you would do it. It's just a one-liner. So we have created the associations. We have all our tables, models created. Everything is there. Now we just need to put it on our routes.js using an include folder. You need to tell when your routes get called, you need to tell your code that there's a relationship that already exists. Go ahead and execute that relationship. Take a look at the documentation and see if you can figure that include keyword, and then I'll show you where exactly it goes. What it already says is going to be author API routes. Okay, so let's open author API routes. Okay, so you see in your author API routes, you have all your queries, find one, destroy, everything is there. Why do we need to include, oh sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Posts. So start with post and then look at author. So both of them will have similar to, because we did the model, we did the post model and the author, and we created the association, but we had the relationship in both files. In post we had belongs to, and authors we had has many. Similarly, in your API routes, you need to have kind of include both of those relationships. So if you're doing the 14 exactly as this one, and you have, after this exercise, everything should be running. Should be able to add, delete, post,
Get all the posts for you guys to do.
So actually, it's
Well, you already have the final code. Okay.
Right here. So, okay, we got bits, but we don't have bits.
No,
Right here. We don't have the stuff that goes after it.
Okay. Yes.
That is.
I thought it was supposed to be. Well, okay. You already have the try that.
See,
All I do know is,
see what's,
Yeah, right down there.
So it's literally on somewhere.
Obviously, you have to where in the database to get in.
Right.
Right.
They don't have data over here, so that's okay.
Yeah. So here we go. So we need this piece.
Yes. Not even the curly bracket, because we already have this.
Yeah. So you need to include the user.
That's it.
Yeah.
The user will change to the R.
Right. 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 And then it should be right here. Right? And then oh, you're right. This is a whole nother line, isn't it? Yeah. So I've got to. Oh, wait a minute. I got to take that out.
No, that's fine. Yes, you haven't separated it. So where is the property? Include is the property. How do you separate it?
Oh. No. Yeah.
So you're right. You already have a curly bracket. Curly bracket is on the top.
Right.
Click on the line. This one, you already have that. So that is fine.
Okay.
You have a property called zero. And then
Right.
you have a value called zero. That's what you need.
Yeah.
The next one is include. How do you go separate it?
Isn't this a there we go. And that one doesn't have it because it's at the end of that. Right.
And now what you do is the user will get what table that you use.
Let's see.
Or not really.
Right. Author, right? Yeah.
You don't have author in your here. How do you access? Yeah, you have the right name, but you cannot access post. How do you access? How do you access? Oh. Yes, but the property is
On the author. Right. Yeah.
This and then says. I tried hiding this.
copy this where it is.
Right.
So you can
See, I kind of like this. I just wire.
because any possible queries that you can do as a joint and
This one is
it's
right.
really interesting kind of once you figure it out.
I can just see that. Once you get this process.
I was like, I'm gonna write query.
Yeah, I can see that.
So have you developed that before?
No, it wouldn't make sense in this case.
So,
Yeah, but yeah, it would. Because you already have a foreign key over. That's how she think I
Because I was
said no.
right.
Yeah, I don't care about the explanation, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
we got it from.
Because you already have a relationship with the host, so the foreign key already exists over here. And so the foreign key over here is basically a primary key over here, right? But if you had another table, and then you had a relationship with this table, then this table can have a foreign key of that table, of some other table. Yeah, it doesn't have to go.
Yeah.
So with the include, they're putting include everything that has a mouse.
No, task is the model over here. The model they have is a user has a task. So their model is user and task. Our models are post and author.
So on the post here, I went ahead and inject the I already started the thing to there. Square bracket.
So go back to the example. So the 20 brackets are there. Fine, right? So go back to yep, that's it. So the where is the final like so it's at the same level as
Okay, so
it doesn't matter.
that would just
Yes, it's multiple authors. So your DB is obviously referenced.
So these are two properties.
Yeah, that's the one. Now I got in the shorthand E squared and curly brackets. So if you're at a bracket using include, you can just say DB dot. So no, you can use it, but it'll be it'll just be
Oh, it's not going to be a blank. If you look at the example,
instead of having the
you have to
the brackets and stuff.
So over here they have a
So you can just do it just like that.
and
that's a
so
shorthand
opposite
way of
model
doing
over
it.
here.
But if you do include extra properties, right?
The author itself, you cannot access author. How are you accessing the post?
Well, those are just examples. Well, no, it'll depend on what data that you want to return, right? So
Yes.
we're just going to API/authors, then we'll do a find all, authors. If we're doing API/posts, then we want to find all the posts. But if there is something on the so post ID, so this will get find
property?
and so obviously we only want to find the one the supplied ID.
So it's fine.
Yeah, so that's fine. It's part of the whole point of these include now is to be able to include the author's data.
Inside the table.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be inside the actual JSON
You just don't have the
string.
But it's not, you're saying add it to all of the.
I would. You can add it to all of them except for the post, because post, we don't necessarily need to, include authors anywhere. Mainly because if we're just creating a post, then our authors are going to be in a drop-down list, so we can just pass in the ID of the author, essentially. Make sense? Cool. Yeah, the SQLized docs aren't the best in the world. Yeah, some of the examples are good. It's just that my biggest beef with the SQLized documents is so you supply, for a majority of their functions, you have to supply options. And they give you a list of options, but they don't really tell you, how to format them, right? So they'll just say, oh yeah, it's supposed to be an object. Okay, what is it supposed to look like?
This actually has examples to show you.
Right.
But then again, totally was thrown off by the fact that they were all signed off.
Yeah.
Which should at least change it up a case.
Yeah, they could have very much.
All right, let's take a look at this one. What are the changes we need to do? So a lot of you guys have already figured it out. We need a include keyword, and we need it both when we are calling this. Okay. Now, include goes in the function properties. It's just one extra property, right? So over here in find all, it's an empty property. What I would do is I would say include, and then it's always going to be an array, and you will say db dot, is it post, okay. So it's in the next one, we'll see the where is a property, and similarly on the same level, include is also a property. So what include does is when you make this query, it goes and it gives you data for post. It makes a relationships, get all the rows which are from authors also and from posts. So it will give you authors and all the related posts. That's what the include does. Okay, so it's kind of combining the relationship. Now, question over here is why is it an array? What's the point of having it an array? Why is it not just a simple object, or I could just do a object? Yes, because you can include multiple tables over here. Right now we just have 2 tables, but in a real scenario you might have multiple tables and all of them would have a relationship. So what you would do is you would say db.post, comma, db. Some other model. Excellent. That's why we have an array. Okay. All right, so since we are an author, we have db post. So find, when I do a find all, that makes sense. Go back here. I said it's a property on the same one, so I will say include post. Okay. You see, it's on the same level as your where condition. Both are properties within this object, so both are separate. Okay. Now this is on my get find all. Okay, so when I do authors, I want all the posts related to the authors. When I do one author, I need all the posts. That's also fine. This is create. When I create an author, do I need the relationship over here? Nope, I don't need it. I'm just filling this table. I don't care about what goes in post right now. I'm just creating an author, so I don't need that. When I'm deleting an author, do I need the post relationship over here? Nope, I don't need it. I already created a cascading effect, right? If I delete the authors, SQLite should automatically go and do the stuff for me. So I don't need that include relationship over here. Yep, it will automatically do it for me. All right. So usually it's always on the gets. Let's go and complete our post also. So in the post, let's see, the first says get all posts. Do I need it over here? Yes. So, but I need author. Is it author or authors? I keep forgetting. Authors? Author. Okay. All right. So I need it in the find all. When I do an ID, I need it over here also because related to all posts, I can get the author information. Okay, when I'm creating a post, I don't really care about this relationship because I'm creating my post and it already has this foreign key relationship. So the only thing it's going to insert is this ID. It's not going to insert like name, first name or anything in my post table. It's only including this ID from over here. So I don't need any kind of loading from my authors over here. So the only place I need it is when I'm getting all the information. When I'm getting all the posts. So I don't want I just don't want the ID. I want all the information of the author also. So I don't have to make a separate call getting this information. With this call, I can get my post and all the author associated with it. Okay. So literally just one line adding it. At this point, run the app. It should run. You should be able to in the beginning of the class that I showed you should be able to add post, blogs, add an author, and everything should be running after this. Did anybody try running it? Looks good. Okay. Any questions? All right. If no questions, then you guys already covered the homework. So all is done. So this is the end of week 15. Next 2 weeks are project, and if there are no questions, I will share the project groups and I will flag this out. So unfortunately, we have 3 people who dropped out, so that's why I have to rearrange. So these are the groups. David D, he is still in the class and communicate with him. He is submitting assignments, so he's streaming. But he is, we confirmed that he is still in the class, so communicate with him. Yeah, fine. Yes.
So
Yeah, I reached out to him, see, I was,
Right, he had some issues. Yeah.
Is he in Phoenix still?
Yeah, I don't know. He is in
Well,
Phoenix.
he told me that his mom
What
was
happened?
in and out of the hospital. He was helping her. So,
See. Okay. Yes.
Did you randomly select these groups or?
No, these are not randomly. What? Why is everybody laughing? All right. And more about the project, we will discuss it. Well, I don't mind sharing. I mean, we have to balance the class out, and these are the two projects. I think by the third project, my expectation, you guys will be more mature. So I won't be doing the project. The vision for you guys on project 3, we'll discuss that when we get to project 3. But these are the projects. Saturday we'll discuss more. There are no team names, and last time nobody came up with a team name. So since I was like, what should I name these teams? And Fantastic Beast is coming. So the theme is going to be Harry Potter. So you guys go ahead, research it, and put your team that is going to be, what is it, team 1? There's no team 1. Team 1 is not acceptable now. Yeah. Oh, there you go. There's already one name taken. All right, so
what they take?
Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
Did you already took Voldemort?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 are already gone. Wow.
Might as well take the namesake of the new movie. What is it, Grindelwald?
Yeah, Grindelwald.
Yeah.
All right, so I will see you guys on Saturday with more details on projects. Next week is project week. You can think about the project. So the project will include MySQL, SQLize, and all. Again, you have to come up with the idea, but no particular. You have to choose. It's kind of similar. Yeah. Yep. Going to be right. It's going to be similar to the project one. You guys have to choose it. You guys will have time to come up with an idea.
But we don't have to go find next
Right. But guys, the only thing is project 2 is going to be marked more strictly. If you guys miss out anything, last time I know the TAs were like pretty nice about few things and they kind of let it slide. With project 2, the expectations are higher. So whatever the qualifications are, everything has to be done to get a good grade on those. I will discuss that on Saturday more. All right, that is all I have, and I'll see you guys on Saturday.
Power row. Yes. Front row.
Oh, well, actually, yeah. Power row.
Yeah.
The front row slackers.
Front row slackers.